What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. I still do the frame. I've got an awful lot more of it done. Still doing it though, and today's Friday. I'm desperately trying to get it all sorted and finished for the weekend so I can get on with gusseting all this bit in and stuff. I've got everything that I need. However, I've been distracted. Basically, Brian's not very well. Not very well at all. Let me show you what I mean. I pulled his head off again, look. He's grumpy, is what he is. He's grumpy. So I was going back looking at some of the earlier videos and stuff, because there's some bits and pieces that I wanted. And when you look at the tooling in Brian, especially with like the hole saw, I know they tend to wobble about a bit anyway because the arbour's a bit rubbish. But sometimes with the drill chuck and stuff like that, I swear I could see a little bit of a wobble. And also when I'm side milling something, it should come up absolutely smooth. Whereas there's chatter marks and stuff on it as well. So, you know, he's obviously not happy. Something's wrong, something he's looking at. So I pulled his head off. And I did some digging. And basically, with the tooling, I'll show you this in a minute because that's quite a good example. All the tooling seemed to do it. So you think, well, it's got to be, you know, I don't know, maybe the bearings need to be adjusted because, you know, I mean, there was new bearings, they do bed in. So I had all the top out, adjusted all that, did some test cuts. This has all been eating into time when I should be grinding, by the way. But I've got some stuff he needs to be doing, so he needs fixing now. Adjusted all the bearings, they was all fine, did some more test cuts, still seeing it. I tried different tooling, I tried, you know, boring, I tried milling, I tried all sorts of stuff. And there's a definite wobble to it. So I've had the main spindle out, and I've also blued up some tools and stuff and shoved them in the taper. And this is what I found. Where are you? Right, so if you look at, where are you? Can you see? So we blued it all up, shoved it back in the spindle and just give it a twist, and you can see there was a definite line where stuff's rubbing here. Are you in shot? You can't see. Focus! There we go. So there's a definite line there where stuff's rubbing, but there's nothing in contact up here. And this is a taper, the whole thing should be engaged. And what I was finding, like on a little mini mill, you'd undo the drawbar at the top and you'd have to clout it to get the tooling out. Well, this, it just basically falls out and it's not sitting down properly. So where I've had the spindle out, there was a definite ridge in there where Brett machined it. And that's what's causing that rub mark. So Brett came down and had a look, he went, yeah, it's wrong, I need to sort it out. The other thing we found is that there basically wasn't a gap between the end of the spindle and the tool where it sits in, like that. So basically the end of the spindle was limiting how far this could go in as well, and that little ridge in there wasn't helping either. So he's had it back and he's remachined it. There is no ridge in there now. He spent quite a lot of time clocking this in and getting it dead on accurate. So we sorted all that out now. And where's the drill chuck? This was probably well, I think it was like the worst one for fitting. I know that's not necessarily the case, but you know, because they're all machined the same. But this one now, if I stick it in, there is, blued it all up and I'm getting witness marks all the way down the taper now. And also if you just shove it in, there is like a little bit of a gap there now, and also when you take your hand away, it don't fall out. So the taper's doing what it should do, whereas it weren't doing before, because if you shoved that in and held it up like that, it would just fall out. So I reckon that's what the trouble was. But I've now got to stick them all back together again, do a whole load more testing, and see if that's actually fixed the problem. I think it will have though. And the way I'm going to prove it is just with side milling, because that seemed to be the bit that was really mucking up. That's where it was most noticeable. So I'm going to keep all this clean. I ain't going to do it now because I want to get that frame finished. But over the weekend, maybe Monday or something, these all going back together again. And we'll see if it's any better, eh? Right, so this is going quite well. I've got an awful lot done. I'm still doing stuff, as you can see. And the place is an absolute tip. However, I'm rapidly running out of belts. I have ordered a load more. I've got some of those 3M ones there as well, so I'll give them a bash and see how we do with that. But I'm just waiting in more belts and stuff now. So, slight change of plan. I'm going to dress it up as much as I can with as many belts as I've got. And I'm going to get it close to, basically. I'm not going to go properly to town on it just yet. I just want to get, you know, fillets all over the place, get rid of all the blobby welding, make it a bit more presentable. And then I can just carry on doing gussets and get the engine mounts in and all that sort of stuff. And I'm probably going to leave it like that, actually, until it comes to final teardown, ready for powder coat. And at that point, I will go over and, you know, just make sure everything is spot on and all the metal work is as it should be. It's just I'm spending ages doing it at the minute, where in all honesty I really don't need to. I just need to get rid of the nasty blobby welds so I can get on with the rest of it and we can have a play. So that's basically what I'm doing. So I'm going to leave you here for a minute. I'll be back in a second and hopefully it'll all be done. Right, let's do that. Right, a quicker way of doing that would have been just to open the shutter door. We got the tail end of that storm that was coming through. It started kicking the shiznick out of everything yesterday. All the trees fell over and all that sort of stuff. I've got no garden rubbish. Well, I've got garden rubbish, but it ain't mine. And it is still going on today. So if the sound is horrible and it sounds like there's a very angry man trying to get into my shop, it's not. It's just we've got that storm to deal with. So what I want to do today is get this gusset in. There's a couple of little ones to do, but I mean they're going to be easy enough. It's this one, which is going to be a pain. Now originally this was like a pressed, well it's two pressed pieces that have been formed, you know, basically by squashing it in a press or something like that, been stamped out. So you got this shape, and there was hole in various places for the frame to go in, which it only just went in. It was literally a few mil, that was it, and then it was seam welded around the joint. But then the two halves were pressed together, trapping the tubes where it needed to trap it, and then it was all just seam welded around the tubes and around the seam where it joined. That was it. I've still got all the pieces over there. They're not very impressive. It's like 1.6-ish, something like that. Like measure it, it comes up just under 2 mil wall thickness. But then you think, well, it's got paint on it and stuff like that. The material's probably like 1.6, 1.8, I don't know, somewhere like that. So we're going bigger. I'm also choosing basically a tube, because circles is like the strongest you're going to get. This is 3 mil. This ain't no 1.8. And I'll be welding it onto a boss, which is 5 mil thick, which is all quite good. And the plate I'm using to do the infill is also 3 mil as well. So although, you know, this is also like a bigger diameter tube. The tubes that came down here initially was a lot skinnier. It was like, I think it was, I'll say a lot skinnier. This is 1.5 inches, and it's 1.5 inches all over. And I think it went down to 1.25 inches or just under 1.25 inches, something like that. So it's bigger tube section, it's bigger wall section. The boss in the middle is a lot more substantial than what they had. And essentially I'm going to be spreading the load from there to there, and the whole thing's going to get welded in together. So I reckon there is probably going to be more metal in this than there is in the original one. It's all done out of round section stuff, not flat section stuff, so this should be stronger as well. And it's, you know, it's just, I want to say beefier, but I don't want to say beefier. Proper tough. But I think it's going to be stronger than what we had originally, and it's just going to look nicer. So I need to make a template up for this, I think. Because it wants to go from there to there. So about there-ish, but then you've got wall thickness and stuff, and it doesn't drop down until about there. So potentially I could, because this isn't split all the way along, see? So potentially I could cock it up twice and still have enough to get it right. Hopefully I don't cock it up though, eh? Right, template time. Right, that I think is going to be my gusset. That'll do, won't it? It is quite small, I get all that. However, there has been quite a lot of thought gone into this. The original one was just, like I said, 2 bits of really thin stuff, just, you know, stamped out and stuck together and everything else. This is one piece. This is all 3mm. And the way I've done this is curved and that is curved. So because I'm on bends at both sides, you know, they're both going to be strong in their own right, and there's a brace there and there's a brace here. This is 3mm, so he's going to go on there. He's going to be spreading the load basically from that point to that point, which is basically the apex of these curves. It's going to be welded all the way around and to a boss, which is 5mm thick. So this is actually going to be quite strong, I think, but it keeps the size of it down, and just where it's placed on the frame means that I'm spreading the load over quite an area. So that, I think, is how I'm going to do it. I think that's going to look awesome. Right, what I need to do now is to make a template of that so I can easily copy it on the other one, and I should, what's the time? I should get both these done today. But that's it. That's how we're going to do it. It is a little bit proud here and a little bit proud here. If you put a straight edge across it like that, you can see there is a little bit of daylight there. So all that will happen is this edge is going to get took off a part of the weld prep. It's going to get welded all the way around, and then if I have to put a little bit more weld up here and down the bottom and then blend it in so it matches up with this curve, then so be it. I don't really care. But I want it all to be nice and smooth and quite small and in keeping with the bike that I want to build. So that's what I'm doing. Right, let's make a template of that. Alright, we're going to need all that. That to there. That'll do. I could go through all the pain and making another one and coping it in and dressing it down and all that stuff. I ain't doing that, I'm cheating. It's just quicker, isn't it? So we'll have him in the middle. That like that. This is just card. Let's have a magnet on there. These rare earth magnets are brilliant, but they pick up grinding dust like you would not believe. And then will a grubby finger do it? Yes. Basically just rubbing the outline. Ain't got to be perfect, because I will dress the other one up and make sure it fits and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But this will definitely get me in the ballpark. And it saves loads of time. And because it's on a flat piece of tube, you know, it's quite easy to do, isn't it? So that's the basic shape. I can see that, that's happy. I'll have him off. Ooh, stick them back up there. And the idea is I'm just going to chomp that out, stick him on the other bit of tube, go around it with a Sharpie and cut it out. So we should be alright. I haven't put any weld prep on this yet. You know, on this one, basically all the corners here needs to have a chamfer put on it for the weld to get in there properly. But if I was to put the chamfer on it now and then do my template, it would obviously be too small. So do it this way and we should be alright, I think. Right, that one was much quicker to do. And he fits good as well. First one, about an hour. Second one, 5 minutes. Template everything you can. Saves you so much grief. Right, I think we're in there. So, I could probably tack these on, couldn't I? He's like that, and he's like that. There is a 2 degree. This isn't a straight line, because I'm trying to triangulate everything basically wherever I possibly can do, and it's only 2 degrees each side. But you know, by the time all this is welded up and dressed up and shaped and everything else, I think that is going to be fine. I think. Yeah, we should be all right. Okay, so a bit of weld prep on the corners. Basically, I'm just going to put a 45-degree chamfer all the way around, clamp it all in place, we'll get some tacks on and then weld it up. And I ain't going to do it in the jig because there's no point. It's pretty much braced, it ain't going anywhere. Let's get all this stuff done. There is a fella, what's his name? Paul Woods. He's the chap who sorted me out with the empty engine cases that I've been using on the jig. And he got in touch because obviously I've been asking people to send in some pictures of what they do. He does knife edge customs. And I was chatting with him and asking, you know, is it like a bit of fun or is it a business or what? He says, well, it's a bit of both really. So that's all cool. But he sent me some pictures and he is really good at this sort of stuff. He sent me some pictures of a frame that he's doing at the minute. So there is going to be loads of stuff popping up because he sent me quite a few. But he's got some skills. It's, I don't really care about the design of the bike, and you know, I mean, everyone builds it either as they want it or as the fella they're building it for wants it. So it's like their choice. If you look at the work that's going into this, like, you know, he's making everything basically. And having gone through all the tube work and dressing stuff up and trying to get it right and get it all like, you know, it is hard. It is hard. It does take an awful lot of time. He's obviously been doing this for a while because he obviously knows what he's doing. But I'm loving his work. I really, really am. But yeah, it's really, I do like these pictures that are getting sent in just because you can see people's imaginations and what they're getting up to and how they're doing it. And they've all got, you know, well, I've got quite a few tools in here now. I mean, the boys at the end, they're my pride and joy, obviously, but I've been, you know, chipping away and just getting little bits here and there as I need it, rather than just have a squillion tools for the hell of it and never use half of them. But it's amazing what you could do with a really small toolkit or with actually quite a, you know, a decent setup. And that's the thing that I'm loving about it. I don't really care the style of the bike or how you're doing it or anything else. It's the work that's going into it and the imagination of people that I think's brilliant. Anyway, let's waffling, let's get this done. Right then, that's one side done. All nice and dressed up and stuff. All very not nice and still blobby welds everywhere. I did go put like a 45-degree chamfer on the end of the gusset that I've stuck in. So there's a really nice big gap there to get loads of welding. And I did put it on hot and heavy, it has to be said. I don't really care what it looks like there. I know it's a good weld. And when I was grinding this one down, you sort of take it back so it's all flush and you've got the level that you want, but then where the weld bead comes down to the parent metal, I always end up with a couple of little lines there, and rather than just keep dressing it down, I'd rather go in and, you know, put a little bit of weld down there at a lower setting, just as a filler basically, just so I've got something to dress down. But it's not looking too shabby. There is like a little bit there, and I do need to finish up dressing up around here to make it look spot on. But it's not too bad. I like that it's quite small, but there is a lot of metal in there, and I've got two curves going into it, so we've got the strength, and it's all done out of really chunky stuff, so I think we're going to be fine. I think it's going to be great. and it's going to look really good on the bike too. So plan is, during next week I'll get this one all dressed up so it looks like that one. That shouldn't be too bad. But I also need to get Brian sorted as well. He needs his head sticking back on because there's some stuff he needs to be getting on with. But once I got that done, we're on to engine mounts. So I've turned up another couple of these little insert jobbies because I need to stick one up there because that engine mount needs to be removable. And then it's a case of putting it back in the jig, engine in, figuring out where all the mounts need to be. Some of them are located by the jig, so that's handy. And we can start doing top shock mounts and all that sort of stuff as well. But the frame is, well, it's almost there actually. There's not that much more to do. But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for this one. Thank you ever so much for watching. Do hope you all are staying safe. We'll see you on the next one. Laters.